Right, so the next little one that I wanted to just capture today, and that was to do with something I was just reflecting on a minute ago when I was standing in the shower. As we do, we kind of, the droplets of water on the head kind of trigger different kinds of, I don't know, different thoughts or different, well, for me, it kind of is a place of calm, and I do some of my best thinking. I'm sure a lot of us do, some of our best thinking in the shower. So one thing I was thinking about while I was standing in the shower, one of the million things I was thinking about, was, toxic relationships and ending relationships. And, well, I'm sure we've all had our opportunities or at moments where we've either done that or thought about the fact that we probably should. We've got a relationship that's not going very well, not bringing anything that's positive, and you're kind of thinking about how can you end that relationship. And, I'm standing in the shower thinking about, I guess, one example, that I'm going through at the moment myself. It's been an interesting one. I don't know if it's been up and down, but anyway, it's a relationship, just to talk more about the relationship itself. So my relationship that I've, going through a patch with at the moment, and certainly it seems to be, I guess you would say it's kind of ending or coming to an end. So my relationship goes back a hell of a long time, and I guess myself and this associate, we've been, I guess, for want of a better way to describe it, we've been friends since, for a long time, my whole life, probably from about the age of 15, maybe. I guess we've been very close friends. So, we grew up together as teenagers into our 20s, 30s, knocked about quite regularly. We had a lot of good times together, really, I suppose. And, well, I think many of the moments in my life, this acquaintance was actually there, along for the ride with me. And I guess I kind of reflect on the time we've had apart, my friend and I, in the last few months, and I kind of think, well, okay, we've been getting along all right in the last few months without each other. And then from that, I'm thinking, well, okay, how's that been? Well, that's gone reasonably well. I think they've been coping all right they've been going all right, and I know I've certainly have. And then from there, I reflect on, okay, what has it been like in the times recently, and probably even the times longer than that, the times that you were together, how was that? How did that play out? And I guess reflecting on that, and I think, well, of late, the times when we had been hanging out together, we haven't really hung out together at all since the start of this year, since Christmas. Certainly over the Christmas period, we hung out together a fair bit, and I guess we had a few fallouts as a result of spending time together. Something about this acquaintance and whatever kind of maybe, I don't know, seemed to bring the worst out of me. Eventually, we'd hang out together on a night out, and inevitably we'd end up having a run-in. God knows why, I don't know why, it just come out of the blue. And that's totally unlike me. I'd always considered myself to be a kind of happy, seeing the best in life kind of person. Is that even a saying, best in life? But anyway, I'd always see myself as being a fairly positive individual. And I guess the point I'm getting to is the more time I spent with this acquaintance, it seemed to bring the worst out of me. And again, so that's thinking about Christmas, and there was a lot of time where there's obviously Christmas functions, so there was a lot of time we spent together there. And then reflecting back over the months and years previously, and I think, well, how many times have we had run-ins? And, I started to count them out of my hands in the shower, and I'm thinking, Jesus fucking Christ, Troy, you've probably had with this acquaintance, you've certainly had more run-ins than you can count on both of your hands. And then you started to do a second loop and you think, what? Surely this relationship is toxic. You don't have to be a psychologist or therapist to kind of you know, we don't need their help to kind of get that advice. But so yeah, standing in the shower, I'm thinking, well, that fuck man, that's as obvious as plain as day. That clearly is a toxic relationship. And over the last 4 months, we're now towards the end of April. Again, we haven't really spent any time together at all this year. And I know this person or this acquaintance, has family members as well, which, in hindsight, you kind of reflect on the family members as well, and you think maybe some of the family members are a bit problematic also, and you think, well, maybe do you need to distance yourself from that entire family? It's kind of obvious, I suppose, really, when I think about it, but the main acquaintance is problematic. The extended family is problematic. When you spend time with them, you inevitably, it brings out the worst of you. So Troy, what are you going to do about it? So again, getting back to the original thing that I said at the start of the video and what the topic was, it's about ending relationships. And for me, I haven't really revealed this person, but this acquaintance, haven't really revealed any particular details about I haven't really revealed many particular details about this particular acquaintance. But for me, I guess this acquaintance is the person that, someone that I met or something that I met. Probably just giving it away there by what I've just said, but I met them as a 15-year-old. An impressionable 15-year-old, someone who probably always struggled in their life up until that point, struggled to try and fit in and never really kind of saw who they could be. And I guess this person kind of took them under their wing, so to speak, made them feel a bit more relaxed and made them feel less concerned about who they were or who I was. They were very clever in terms of what they could actually help me with, in terms of just kind of coping and whatnot. So anyway, rambling in terms of talking about this individual, but my individual, or my acquaintance that I'm actually really referring to, and some of you, the penny may have already dropped, but I guess my individual that I'm referring to is, alcohol. And maybe specifically, initially, I was talking about my relationship with beer. Now, I guess talking about that, I would have had my first beer probably maybe as a 15-year-old. I know I did leave school at the age of 15 at the end of year 10, and I started an apprenticeship. So I started off as an apprentice carpenter. Did that for a short period of time, and then for whatever reason that ended, and then I became an apprentice mechanic. Did that for a number of years. So again, we're still talking about here only being 15, 16, 17 years old, so not even yet an adult. And again, there was Troy, a young apprentice working in, so talking about the mechanical workshop, even the carpentry for the few months I did it. But, sitting in these environments where I'm surrounded by adults, they're trades type adults as well. So, it's not a big issue for them to, have a few beers after a work on whatever the night might be. Didn't even need to be a night time on some occasions. So, for me, it didn't really even need to be, it wasn't a strange thing, and it wasn't something that was discouraged. They would always, offer me one. Ethically now, I kind of reflect on it and think, fuck man, that's kind of child abuse. I mean, I was only 15 years old. But again, it is what it is. I don't really hold any grudges. I mean, I made those choices for myself. I mean, I was a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid. I could have said no. Obviously understanding what I know about myself now as a 48-year-old adult who's just been diagnosed with ADHD at this age, and I kind of understand now that I'm impulsive, or I'm hyperactive, I'm impulsive, zero attention. But again, the impulsivity for me, and also then having reflected on how I know I've always struggled, and I know I talked about it a minute ago, how, this acquaintance, as I called it, but the alcohol just really helped me, I guess, cope. And it just kind of removed some of those insecurities. And, I guess it was a way of self-medicating, self-treating. Again, ethically, like I said, ethically it seems wrong in hindsight that, Troy, you're only 15, 16, 17 years of age. But again, is what it is. That was the 80s/90s back then, so the world was a different place. Anyway, so talking about this relationship and how I... Anyway, so talking about this relationship and how I can now see that it has been toxic for me in terms of Troy over the last few months, certainly leading up into Christmas. And then if I map out my life from the age of 15 all the way up until now, I can certainly see that there are, as I said in the video earlier before, there is many more occurrences than I can fit on these two hands here, many more occurrences than I can even care to imagine. Many of them I cannot even remember. Absolutely zero idea as to what may have occurred. One, it's probably partly to do with excessive alcohol consumption. Like, that's something I've always did. For me, it was like go absolutely flat out until you can't have any more. Foot to the floor, go absolutely flat out. And eventually, Troy, you'll either finish the race and you'll stand on the podium at the end, or possibly you'll crash and burn. Maybe on the first lap, probably never really on the first lap, but by the time you get 4 or 5 laps into the race, things start to become a bit more blurry. I guess it's a bit like, well, they say drink driving, but for me, it was just like drink living. My judgment was totally impaired. I would actually honestly say that for me, at least, I reckon I can feel, thinking about it now, I can feel my judgment becoming impaired, starting to become impaired, probably from the first or second sip. Right, there's something about the chemistry within the alcohol, and knowing what I now know about the deficit that I have in the frontal lobe of my skull, something about the very first micrograms, milligrams, whatever you want to call it, milliliters of it would hit me straight away. And I always used to wonder, Troy, why does it hit you, or why does it affect you differently to how it does anyone else? All of my friends, all of my peers, the whole way through life. And I guess kind of reflecting on that in the 5 minutes or 4 minutes, I was in the shower for, is amazing, the kind of different things that go through your brain. But for me, I guess the reason why, thinking about it now, well, not the reason, but seeing how it affected you, Troy, there's clearly something that you just have to do about it, and that is to just end the relationship. The relationship is toxic. It's not doing you any, there's no benefits really. There's a few benefits in the euphoric moments that hit you. Very quickly and of late, it seems to be that the euphoria part, or what happens when the euphoria passes. So the euphoria passes, and I guess the whole stop listening kicks in. I'm a terrible listener anyway, but I'm a fucking atrocious listener once I have been drinking. And if I, again, foot to the floor driving a million miles an hour on the 3rd or 4th, 5th, 6th lap, lap being beers or whatever it might be, glasses of wine, then the awareness of what's going on around me just absolutely diminishes. Now, I wouldn't say that I'm not a violent person when I've had too much to drink, but I do become a person that's just becomes a bit belligerent, probably, doesn't know when to stop, don't know when to stop when I'm actually consuming the stuff, and when, I don't know, there's examples of conversations that might go on around home or whatever, where I'm getting clear messages that, Troy, this conversation that we're having or whatever it might be, it needs to stop. But no, I just keep chipping away. Admittedly, that happens a little bit when I'm not under the influence, but it certainly does happen a bit more when I have been drinking. So anyway, these are just a scattered array of different thoughts on the topic. I'm not even sure what I'll do with this particular video because it's 15 minutes long now, but I'm sure there is actually something meaningful that's in there. But yeah, it's interesting, reflecting. We've been acquaintances from the age of 15 all the way through those years where you actually became an adult. And I reckon in those 3 years where I was a young, kind of an impressionable 15-year-old, and again, I was working in a trade environment in the country, WA, where the culture was pretty much, you drink and you socialise. And that's how, in order to be perceived to fit in, you needed to participate. And I guess me being so much younger, so a lot of my peers and friends at the time, they were 2, 3, 4 years older than me. They were tradespeople and people that I worked with and whatnot. So I guess there was always a drive for me to try and keep up, to truly fit in. I felt like I needed to keep up and have as many beers as they did and whatnot. But I guess I could never do that. And I would crash and burn much quicker than anyone else, and then kind of wake up with absolutely no memory of what I've been, what I've done. Occasionally I woke up and I might have lost an eyebrow, little things like that. I wouldn't take anything back from that. I think that's memorable stuff. But I guess what I didn't do was learn from any of it. Wasn't able to learn then. But I can certainly reflect now and, learn from those past experiences and think, well, many of them, Troy, didn't go very well. Anyway, I'm going to stop on that point now. Maybe I'll come back to it later after I've thought about it a bit more, and we'll come up with something that's a bit more. Got to have a positive side. There is some positive sides to the story, actually. It's fucking going really well. I cannot believe how, for me, how little I have actually struggled in relation to giving up this friend, to breaking up the relationship. So for now, what is it, the 15th of April, I have not actually had a beer. Maybe I've had one. I've had maybe one beer in the last 4.5 months. Well, no, we're actually in May now. Fuck me. I just realised it's May. 15th of May. I kept saying April, but it's May. So it's actually been longer than I thought. So fuck me. How about that? So anyway, I have not had a beer at all since the 1st of January. And honestly, I went cold turkey, and it wasn't even a struggle, to be honest with you. Cold turkey, certainly on the beer side. I have had occasions where I've had wine and whatnot, but I'm working on that as well. But I think first step is to just cut off one part, and maybe, I guess, the cousins may not get an invite to the party either. Maybe that's something that I will do. Anyway, that's gone really well. This video might not have, because it's been a rambling bloody mess. The fact that I said it's the 15th of April and it's actually the fucking 15th of May just shows that I've got a million thoughts going on in my mind at the moment in terms of how I was going to try and get this one out. Well, the fact that I confused the dates should be an indication of, I guess, how kind of scattered my thoughts are on this particular topic. And it's certainly been a very big part of my life since I was, that tender age of 15. It's been a very big part of my life. It certainly doesn't explain everything in terms of I don't have ADHD because of it. I haven't been, found, that's not it. It's part of it, but it's certainly not it. Being impulsive and struggling and all that kind of stuff is a byproduct of the ADHD. It's certainly not the cause, or the alcohol, or whatever it might be. It's not a cause. Anyway, that doesn't even make sense. Definitely won't include that part. Anyway, I'm going to hang up now. It's been 20 minutes. Bye. these glasses are all right. They've kind of haven't been aware of my eyes at all so far. Anyway, here's my office. I've got to do some work. I'll come back later.